welcome to the show. I appreciate you checking out another brand new review. Don't forget, every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm gonna have some horror news, an opinion piece, or a new interview for you all to come and check out. But throughout the week, I'm still dropping countless reviews in the world of horror, whether it's movies, TV shows, games, books, whatever. You don't want to miss any of that, and the best way to stay on top of all the content I'm dropping is to get subscribed to my link tree. And you can do that by going to linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed to my link tree, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms for the audio-only version of the show, to my Letterboxd page for movie rankings and my written reviews throughout the year, to my TikTok page for my short horror content including movie news and movie premieres, to my Twitch page for my horror gaming, which will include Phasmophobia for PlayStation VR 2, and to my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy my 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop, including a yearly subscription to the physical magazine. To get advantage of that, folks, hit that subscribe button, as the more followers I get, the more content I can put out for all of you. And don't forget, here in the month of November, our prize up for grabs is a copy of the novelization of the movie X, written by Tim Wagner, a man who has written quite a few novelizations of popular movies over the last couple of decades. This book was an absolute blast to get through, gave a lot of insight into what the state of mind was for a lot of the characters within X. I'm going to be talking about it later on this month, but all you have to do to enter for a chance to win is comment on any video in the month of November. And in the month, I'll put them all together. We're going to draw a winner to get a copy of X. So what are we talking about here tonight? Folks, I am ready to dive into another new series with you. Right now we're on a bit of a break from the Immortal Universe, which is what I've typically been covering here, and Chucky, unfortunately, for the moment is done for, so can't really talk about that either. So I decided that if I want to jump into a new show, gotta be something that, one, I know that everybody seems to love, and two, something that I just didn't get a chance to finish up on, and that means we're diving finally into Penny Dreadful. Y'all, I am so stoked about this one just because I remember watching like the first few episodes of this, you know, a decade ago when this had first came out, and unfortunately I just didn't keep up with it. There was so much other stuff going on, whether it was professionally or personally, and just in the world of horror, there's a lot of stuff coming out that I just was not able to keep up with the show. And it even had a second show created as well that I wasn't able to keep up with either. So I am amped to actually dive back in, treat it like it's brand new, and kind of see what happens in this. Now, if you haven't seen Penny Dreadful before, haven't seen a trailer, haven't heard anything about this at all, it takes from a lot of 19th century British like an Irish fiction, like fictional characters. So like, for example, they're invoking Dorian Gray, they're in Dracula, Mina Harker, Van Helsing, Victor Frankenstein and his creature, Jekyll and Hyde, Renfield. Like, there are a lot of literary figures that are going to be represented here in this TV show, and it's kind of about them all mingling, and there is like a bigger purpose behind it. But again, folks, as I am trying to come into this like relatively new, you know, I don't know what that bigger purpose is as of yet. And I remember me, like, I was so stoked about getting into it because it reminded me a lot of the film The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If you haven't seen that one, that's kind of like the same kind of concept, is that it took a lot of characters from British fiction and like a few other cultures as well, and kind of blended them all together. Because who do we have in that? And of course, I'm going off the movie. I know the comic book series has a bunch of different characters, but the movie also had like Dorian Gray. It also had Mina Harker in it. It had Alan Quatermain, Tom Sawyer. It had the Phantom, who was like supposed to be Q from James Bond. Like, it had all these different characters in it, and that made it so interesting to watch. So take that concept, because I do think The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is actually a really well done movie, very entertaining, but take that concept and focus it more into horror, and you get Penny Dreadful. Now, the show, the first episode that we're talking about here is going to be Night Work. This was the debut episode here, put us back right at the turn of the 19th century, and we start off by seeing a mother and daughter abducted out of their homes by creatures or assailants that we don't necessarily know what they are yet. And then we kind of move into this recruiting process, because we're introduced to our lead characters, Vanessa Ives, played by Eva Green, and Sir Malcolm Murray, played by Timothy Dalton. which already little meta itself, because you have a Bond next to one of the best Bond girls that we've ever had from Casino Royale. So that's already meta enough as it is. But Malcolm Murray and Vanessa Ives are looking for help to track down Murray's daughter, who has been kidnapped by vampires, and his daughter just so happens to be Mina Harker, who, if you know from Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know the role that she has to play in that story and in the various adaptations, that Dracula sees Mina as his reincarnated lost love, and that he's ultimately trying to turn her, and of course that leads to Dracula's confrontation with Van Helsing and Mina's husband Jonathan Harker and others. And so who knows if we'll ever explore any of that at all, but the fact that Mina Harker exists in this world means for sure, obviously, you know, vampires, they are alive and well too, and Vanessa and Malcolm are trying to find any help they can for any clue to lead them closer to Malcolm's daughter. Now, I think that going into this like extremely blind, it'd be easy to think that maybe this would be like a one and done, because a lot of shows like this, we're used to seeing kind of like a creature of the week. So every week there's a new monster, there's a new threat that our team's gonna have to handle, while the overarching bad guy, the big bad of the season, is just kind of hanging in the shadows, waiting for things to unfold. And at first it very much seems like that's the way it's gonna be with Malcolm's daughter, because they take a little while before they actually tell us that it's Mina Harker, which is, it is a pretty big reveal, honestly, given what we know about Bram Stoker's Dracula and that entire, you know, those characters over the decades and that we've had them out in the world. And so they go and they recruit Ethan Chandler, who was a man who doesn't really take the violence that well, and is currently living in England, claiming to be one of the few survivors of Custer's Last Stand, and is now putting on these elaborate like outdoor stage shows for Brits who want to see the way that American life was. And Vanessa Ives can tell there's something very certain, something special about Chandler, and she needs him to be a part of this group. And Chandler, of course, takes the opportunity to make some money, do something a little bit more worthwhile than what he's been doing, and he's introduced to this magical, mystical world to where he has to help Malcolm and Vanessa deal with a coven of vampires who either holding Mina or have an idea of where Mina can be. Now, this fight that they have with the vampires is terrific. It sets the stage for the kind of action that we're hopefully going to get over the course of this show. We're not seeing anything too different or new with these vampires compared to what we've seen in a lot of other shows. You know, they're not turning dust, they're not exploding and like turning to ashes or anything like that. You know, they're going down very much like normal everyday humans would. And what's also super interesting about it, and we don't know whether or not there was any prep done, because if they don't show it, we're left to assume a lot, but that the majority of these vampires are being killed by normal everyday devices. Chandler and Murray go and like lay waste to the place, and quite a few vampires Chandler seems to actually kill just with his bullets. And granted, they do go around staking a few more before this battle is done, but there's a very big implication, like in some of the other media we see with vampires, that they're just immortal until somebody kills them. Like they live forever, but they can still be killed by most conventional means. So I'm excited to see what path they choose to follow with that, especially because, like in a lot of other media as well too, we're shown that there's different classes, different levels of vampires, as there's all like the normal human looking ones that can pass every day like you and I, different colored eyes, fangs, you know, maybe some sharpened nails and everything. But then we have these ancient vampires that very much look the part of an old vampire. They're not really passing for human. They're taller, they're a little bit more emaciated, they're more vicious to say the least as well. And while they're able to dispatch one, this leads what seemingly is going to be the overarching quest for this season, because unfortunately we don't track down Malcolm's daughter, gets a vision of her, and whether or not he really did see Mina or not, he's at least had a vision, and that very much is real enough. And in that vision, unfortunately, Mina is already a vampire, but who knows, could this be a trick being played by the one who captured Mina in the first place? Because it's made abundantly clear that Vanessa and Malcolm thought that there was only one master vampire out there they had to worry about, and knowing that there's more than that definitely puts Ethan and anybody else in their vicinity in immediate danger. But that's not the end of our exploration into this dark world, as we're also introduced to literary figure Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who was recruited to basically do an autopsy on one of the dead vampire bodies to find some extra clues that can help Malcolm and Vanessa track down Malcolm's daughter. And Victor seems very much single-minded, very much like a one-track mind on what his focus is and what he's trying to do. He's trying to find a way to break the line between life and death, which has always been Victor's motivations in the various times we've seen him again across different media over the years. But what is kind of interesting, though, is that depending on the adaptation you see of Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein can be portrayed to be altruistic, and that he's trying to solve all this as a way to like deal with his own loss in life. And at other times, it's just a way of him getting power and enjoying this additional power that he has now, and the fact that he's able to play God. And so far, it's kind of hard to see where specifically they're going to go with the character of Frankenstein, just because he's not obviously as into the quest of saving Malcolm's daughter as everybody else that's around. And he wouldn't be the only one on the outs either, because, you know, Ethan Chandler, played by Josh Hartnett, also bailed on the group after their first battle against these vampires. Like, opening your eyes to an insane, elaborate world isn't just something that you take right in from somebody who's very much trying to escape this violence, who very much is not a fan of the violence that's being put on the display, and even what he acts like he is in real life as well too. So who knows? Who knows where a lot of these characters are going to end up going? We do get to see that Frankenstein does indeed create his monster by the end of the episode, and you have to imagine, in most adaptations, that turns out to not be great for Victor, just because that monster very much is abandoned and looks for revenge on him in most adaptations. And if it's not that, usually the monster is being used by other forces for more nefarious deeds. So it's hard to sit around and think that everything's going to work out to be perfectly fine for all these characters in the long run, with Victor running things under the radar, and they're still dealing with the threat of vampires out there too, which kind of begs the question of what else is going to be around the corner, because it's very clear Vanessa also has clairvoyant powers, and whether she's possessed, at least has communications with some kind of otherworldly force, whether it's a demon, whether it's an angel, God, the devil, whatever the case is. She's talking to somebody who seems to be helping her for the moment. But again, this world is so dark and evil and twisted that we don't know at this very moment who we can trust. So we're only in episode 1 here so far, folks. I'm excited to keep on in this journey with you. Keep in mind, Penny Dreadful is available for free right now on Paramount Plus, so you can check this show out over there. So if you're following along with me, let me know in the comment section here, who's your favorite character in the show, at least right now. Again, that'll give you a chance to win a copy of the novelization of X. Just let me know who you're enjoying so far in the show. And yeah, stay tuned, folks. We're going to be diving into all 3 seasons of this. Then we'll probably get to City of Angels a little bit later on there. So I appreciate you tuning in, folks. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared. Boy here is a big fan of Fangoria. So if you want to check out the world's best horror magazine that's out there, get a chance to get yourself your own subscription, which I just got my first one back in 2022, and I don't regret it for a second. But if you want your own Fangoria subscription, or you like the Fangoria merchandise, then head over to the Fangoria shop and use my link if you want to save yourself some money, folks. That's an easy one to remember. Just go to shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW. Again, that's shop.fangoria.com/AXDEW, or use my specific code AXDEW at checkout. You can save 20% off your entire order, and that implies 2 subscription and a one-time orders as well. You don't want to miss out, folks, because with the magnitude of horror movies we've had released in the last few years, and with what we have on the horizon, Fangoria is going to be your #1 source for all that great, juicy, bloody information in the world of horror. So again, head to shop.fangoria.com. Hey there, folks! Thanks for tuning in to T-Watch This Scary Movie. I appreciate you checking out another review or movie news, whether we're talking movies, TV shows, books, or games, whatever, it's all scary. Remember, you can check out new episodes every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on the YouTube page for video. That's youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. Again, youtube.com/C/Theron Reynolds Scary Movie. And you can check out the audio version on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just search T Watch the Scary Movie or TWASM. Don't forget, my name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.